All right, guys, so let's talk about rentals for a second. If you are a homeowner or a potential buyer that wants to become a rental owner, there's a few things you need to know. So last month, I hosted a really great first-time investors workshop where we went through all the numbers and we did scenarios side by side of what you should do, right? There's so many different ways not only to finance investment properties, but also how to structure them as investment income. Depending on what you're gonna do with that property, there's a lot of ways to get in and out of them. And so it's important how to know that. But the point of this video is to just share my experience, how we bought a condo and now we've turned it into rental, and kind of the action steps needed to take in order to make that rental come to life and actually start generating income. It's more than just listing it on a rental property search site. So let's kind of break that down. Backwards to September 2022, we bought our first condo in Ho'opili, bought it for $500,675. Fast forward a year later, we bought our second condo in Ho'opili, and so the plan is to rent that first condo out. So first thing I had to do was move all my stuff into the new place, and so there's gonna be a period where it's empty, right? We have 2 months now where I'm paying for 2 mortgages. It's a little bit scary, but I was planning for this in advance. So that's step number 1, is just planning and having reserves so that if you have vacancy, you have the ability to keep that property and not default on your mortgage. Second thing is I needed to have it professionally cleaned. I paid about $400 for a cleaner to come in. They do a move out clean, top to bottom, just make sure it's all shiny. I wasn't about to get on my hands and knees and like scrub down my oven super hard. Even though it was only a year old, it's just like, it would have taken me probably 2 days of my time to do that, and it was much more worth it for me to spend the $400 and have someone come in. Smells great. And then third thing I had to do was, okay, well now I've got it clean, I need photos. So I hired a professional photographer to come in. That was about $400 too, but it looks beautiful. It looks brand new. I mean, it's a pretty sexy listing when you look at it online. And so then I have all this stuff ready to go. I built out my description. I had to ask around on what's the best place to post this thing, because I could post it on MLS, or I've been told Zillow is actually really user-friendly for homeowners to list their places for rent. So I actually did that. I went through Zillow Rental Manager. You can create a free profile and everything. You upload your photos, you upload all of the property description details, and then it spits out this beautiful listing that's ready to go. It's kind of like pre-made for you, right? And then we had to talk about the numbers. So numbers wise, our mortgage is like $2,300, plus we have our HOA on top of that. So all in, we're pretty much at $3,000 a month. And then that's include tax, insurance, all of that. And so I was looking at comps, meaning comparable rental units in the Ho'opili area for a 2-bed, because technically my unit is a 1-bed with a bonus room, but I enclosed the bonus room to make it a 2-bedroom. Doesn't have a closet, so it's not a permitted 2-bed, but you could easily have, a bed in there and call it a bedroom. I was very clear with that on the listing, but based on comps, and I was using also the Element building, which is a full rental unit complex in Ho'opili as comps. There were about 32 to 30, not even 32. They were like under 3,200, but 3,100, but no yard a lot of the times. Parking was farther. Our unit is a corner unit that has grass in the front and in the back. And so I was just like telling my husband, I said, you know what, let's just try for 3,200 and see if we can make it work. And to be able to cash flow or even break even just a year after owning a property in Hawaii is really rare to find a property structure that works for that. So we did it. And I just knew, hey, if this thing doesn't get rented in 48 hours based on the 3,200 price, then I can drop it down. Like, it's no harm to us. I'll drop it down to 3,000 to a break-even point and be good to go. But literally within 3 hours of pushing submit on Zillow and the listing going live, I had an application from an Army couple PCSing from Georgia. They've got a little Chihuahua that's house trained. And so I'm getting $3,200 a month for a security deposit, first month's rent, last month's rent, and the pet deposit. Did an interview with them via Zoom, did a tour with them, talk story. They're super sweet, super excited. And it was really interesting to hear her perspective as someone who's PCSing, because she's done it before where she's waited to find the place till she's boots on island or boots to wherever she's going and missing out, because the rental market is just as competitive as buying, where you're going to sometimes 20 listings to try to find a rental and you're competing against 10 applications. And she didn't want to do that this time. She wanted to secure the place so that when they land, they know where they're going, they can pick up keys, and it's going to be ready to go. That was really great insight for me to understand. But overall, got it rented out, lease is secured. You can do the whole lease contract on Zillow too. It's like a questionnaire that you fill out, and then it just pumps out this beautiful lease agreement. You can add it and customize it all you want, but it wasn't rocket science. It was really, really simple. And I have peace of mind knowing that we are literally a couple blocks away And so my husband and I are happy to personally manage this one property. Obviously, you're gonna need to know Hawaii law and knowing that, okay, if you have multiple properties, you are eventually gonna need to have a property manager. But deciding, is that gonna be the choice that you wanna make as a homeowner? Do you wanna personally manage it or do you wanna pay for someone to manage it? And if you're gonna pay for someone to manage it, does the rental comps and everything, does your number breakdown account for a 10% property management fee? Usually they take about 10 to 12% of your rent as payment for the property manager. So you have to factor that in, right? So on us, that could be $300 or so for us to hire a property manager every month, and then we'd be in the negative. And so at this point, we're not willing to do that. But in the future, when we're able to refinance and, just take out some cash maybe and use that for another property, we can look into those numbers and see what that looks like. But all in all, now that it's rented out, what else do I need to know, right? I need to be prepared for the worst case scenario if it ever happens. Number one, I need to have my vendor list ready to go. My electricians, my plumbers, my utilities, you name it, my lawn people. Like, I gotta have my go-to list because now I'm responsible for taking care of this property for someone else, right? I don't wanna be besties with my tenants, but I wanna have an open line of communication. I want them to feel like they're comfortable and they're safe to come with me the second something happens so that they're not delaying telling me or just letting it roll by and the home is deteriorating without me knowing about it, right? So it's really important that I'm checking in and I'm just making sure they're having a great experience living there, and then I don't really have a lot to worry about. Another big thing about buying new construction is that the home is still under warranty for the first 5 years, or I think it's a structural warranty of 10. All the utilities and appliances are a 1-year warranty, but I can extend those warranties if I want to. So again, if something were to break down, I know I'm covered and I've registered everything. And so there isn't a ton of risk for me as far as cost out of pocket. Because they have the dog, I know, okay, I'm probably gonna have to replace the carpet every time they move out. With my condo, there's literally only the master bedroom that has carpet. So that's, $1,000 if that. So I do have a good 3 months reserve set aside in case it were to ever be vacant, but that's just the backup fund. And then we have their security deposit too, if it was ever needed when they move out and it's not the condition that they started it with. So I know that was a little bit of a ramble. That's just like story time of what we're doing for our personal property. I also helped a client who is starting their first investment property. They came to the workshop. We talked numbers, we talked strategies. We did a lot of comparisons between different short-term rental spots on the island to see if that would make sense. And ultimately they picked the park on Keomoku, which is a really interesting project. So if you guys aren't familiar with it, the park on Keomoku is a brand new construction tower going up in the Ala Moana area. It goes up like 30 something floors, but price points are actually really great for the 1 to 2 bedroom price point. So we're talking 700s up to 850s for it feels like luxury. It's not quite luxury, but it feels like luxury. And so if you guys want more information on that, I can definitely tell you more info. But what's cool about the park is you can use Azur's building as comps. And so we could easily see, okay, 1 bedrooms in Azur renting for $4,000 plus a month. If my investor clients have over $100,000 down, what do our mortgage numbers look like compared to the rental comps? And they're actually going to be cash flowing from day one. Another perk of buying new construction in town is these condos can take 2, 3, 4 years to build, right? So you're getting under contract, let's say like right now in 2023, but this project isn't going to be done for another year or so. So you lock in 2023 pricing, but you actually get appreciation before you actually open it and have keys. So by the time you own the property, the building has gone up in value and you could just turn around and resell that thing if the numbers made sense. So it's kind of a safe catch-all, a win-win with new construction in town, but there is some risk, of course, and every building is different. Some are gonna be owner-occupant required, some are not. So just knowing the ins and outs of town is really important. But very excited for them to start their homeowner's journey, really just like their investor hat, because they've started homes before and they've had their own personal properties, but this is the first one they won't be living in. So just a little bit of a different mindset. I'm gonna wrap this one up on that one, but investor strategy, right? Putting on your investor hat. We're not emotional about these properties, and I really wanna help you get clear on what's most important for you and what is the intent when you buy an investment property, because everyone's story is going to be different. And so we'll help create that roadmap based on what your goals are personally. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Okay, I forgot something really important. So that is, we have to consider how the title is vested in your name. So obviously, when you buy a home to live in it as your primary residence, it's usually under your personal names, right? But now that we're turning this property into an investment property, or if you're buying this as an investment property to start out with, you might not want it in your personal name. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So I am not a CPA and I cannot give legal advice, but it has been highly recommended to me, and I know a lot of other investors who do this, but they buy a property with an LLC, or they transfer the title from their personal name into an LLC name. So why would somebody want to do that, right? Well, number one, you're going to want to make sure that you have some protection. And so that's the biggest thing, liability reasons, right? So right now, if you were to have a property that's rented out and it's not in an LLC, it means if the tenant were to sue you, they could technically come after everything that is your personal assets, versus if it's in an LLC, that LLC acts as a protection and a barrier for you, so that if they come to sue you for some reason, they can only come after whatever the value of the property is, anything that is within that LLC's assets, okay? So that's one tip, but in order to do that, you have to transfer your title. And so what that looks like is we hired a legal firm, and I think it was about $1,200 because there's a conveyance fee, tax, and the transfer fees and that stuff that goes on. And so it took about a week to get the estimate from them, from the law firm, and then we paid the invoice, and then they mailed us the deed to sign with the notary. That took us another week and a half because we're just busy and didn't have time to go to the notary. Got that done, and now we've sent it back to the law firm for them to file and for it to be recorded. And so that should probably take another 1 to 2 weeks. All in all, it took about a month for us to transfer our title from our personal name to the new LLC name. Now that it's in an LLC, we also needed to open up new bank accounts, business bank accounts for this specific property. So again, when I have to change the light bulbs, when I need to hire the cleaner, I am swiping my business card, and now everything is a business write-off under that LLC as well. The intent with this is to actually come out net zero or negative, so I'm not being taxed on any of the rental income, if that makes sense. So I forgot to mention that in the video. It's really important, but you guys let me know if you have questions on that. I can connect you with local CPA, the law firm that we use, etc., etc. But just wanted to make sure that was important.